Hi guys, welcome back to See Joe Go. I'm excited to have you with me today. If you notice, I'm quite dressed up today. That is because we're going to be talking about Geneva. And Geneva is, one of those places that's a pinnacle of sophistication and elegance and prestige. So I really felt like I had to play the part. So don't mind me and my antics. I just wanted to get into character. So let's go and talk about Geneva. Now, Geneva is located in Switzerland. I always like to talk about location because I think it's good to have like a sense of where you're going and like just a bit of background. So Geneva is in Switzerland and the language spoken is not Swiss, no. It's actually French. So Switzerland is an interesting country because there are parts of the country that shares a border with Germany and other parts that share the border with France. So Geneva is closer to France and the language spoken is French. So if you happen to study French in high school, good to go. Here's a great place where you can practice that education. So in Geneva, the currency used is the Swiss franc, but you can get by fine with the euro and they're almost one-to-one. So, well, everything is changing now, but when I went, it was almost one-to-one. So it's pretty much okay with the conversions and the euro is widely accepted. So I had no problems with that. Okay, now, what's important about Geneva? Geneva is known for a lot of the headquarters of like important organizations such as the WHO. The headquarters are there in Geneva. Also the United Nations. So just like I said, associate Geneva with sophistication, elegance, wealth. It is one of the 5 richest countries in the world. But there's also a lot of Christian history. So there are a lot of like very important Christian sites that are there, quite a bit with politics, lots of museums, lots of art. So Geneva can appeal to anybody who has interest in any of those departments. Now, let's talk about what to see in Geneva. It's a very pretty city. So I think the first thing that you need to see in Geneva is the Jet d'eau. How's my French, guys? Thanks. Thank you very much. I'm one of those who studied French in high school, so I'm trying to, show that I actually did some work there. But yes, the jet d'eau is beautiful. It is a lovely spray feature, right? Like a water jet, and it goes really, really, really high and it sprays out water and it's beautiful. I was so lucky because my friend who I stayed with in Geneva, her Airbnb was actually facing the jet d'eau, so I could see it from the kitchen. Funny enough, she didn't know because she didn't know that it was a feature that was like a prominent part of Geneva. So it's like, oh my goodness, the jet d'eau is like right there through your window. And just like, huh? But they're just like, oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, but it's really beautiful. You'll definitely want to see it and get a few pics there. Another nice feature is the flower clock. This is a great place to take selfies. The third choice is really hard for me to give because it really depends on your interest. Like if you're into church history, I would say the Reformation Wall is something you don't want to miss. But perhaps for most persons, I would say the Palace of Nations, which is the headquarters of UN. If you go there, it's a signature part of being in Geneva. So it's a great place to get some shots and you see all the flags and you feel like, oh yeah, I'm really in Geneva. So those are my top 3 picks. But for more places, of course, visit the blog where we give you all the information. All right, now next, what to do in Geneva. So the Jet d'eau is actually on Lake Geneva, which is absolutely beautiful. And one of the things you can do on Lake Geneva is you can do a boat tour. Now, as you know, I'm always about budgeting. So what we did instead was that we opted to do the public transportation, the ferry. It's at a minimal cost and you can use the tickets all day. So we actually spent like half of the day just on the water. My friend absolutely loved it. After a while, I was like, I think I've had enough of the water, but it was really so relaxing. We just spent a lot of time just looking at the beauty of like the Swiss Alps in the background and just enjoying the calming water. It's really pretty for a lake, like so blue. It looks almost like, a sea, but it's really, really nice. And so I would say doing a boat tour or taking the ferry back and forth on Lake Geneva is a really relaxing and beautiful experience. Another thing you want to do is go through the old city. The old city in Geneva is very calming. I feel like everything in Geneva is pretty calming. It's like, to me, it was a very calm like city. That's what I got from it, which is not really common, right? But I don't know, it just seemed really calm. But the old city has a lot of history, a lot of important sites. In the old city, you can stop at St. Peter's Cathedral. It's quite important because there's quite a bit of Protestant church history there, like linked to Calvin. And also they have, I think it's 157 steps. You can climb up there, and when you get up there, you have a beautiful panoramic view of Geneva. So that's a nice thing to do. Now we get to my favorite part of any place, the food. What should you eat in Geneva? Number 1, without any doubt, is fondue, guys. It is Switzerland, the place of cheese. So you definitely want to feel fancy and have some fondue. You find fondue anywhere you go. One thing I'll say with fondue though, especially if you're not really very experienced with it, is that when you get into the restaurant, especially if they specialize in fondue, it might smell a little bit uncommon. I mean, honestly, but just be open because it tastes great. So if you're not used to the smell of it, you might be a little stunned at first, but you can you can acclimate and it's a good experience. So go for the fondue. The next is Swiss chocolate. It's very simple, but I mean, I don't think you want to go to Switzerland and not try Swiss chocolate. Like, I think two of the most important chocolates in the world are Belgian chocolate and Swiss chocolate. So you want to have Swiss. I honestly prefer Belgian, but it was good to have Swiss and to compare them. So Swiss chocolate for sure. The third one, though, guys, I honestly did not have this one, but I felt like I had to share it with you because it's a perfect opportunity to practice my French. So it is called, I'm going to have to read it, Papier Vaudois. Would you like me to say it again? Papier Vaudois. Doesn't it sound sophisticated? So papier vaudois is basically a combination of leeks and potatoes and some sausages, and it's a dish that is highly recommended. I didn't get to have it, but I recommend that you try it. My actual recommendation for number 3, it's not really Swiss, but it's the only place that I had it, and this is actually Viennese hot chocolate. It's interesting because it's linked to Vienna, but I didn't have it in Vienna. I had it here in Geneva, and it was so good. I think it's just that we were so unassuming, right? Like, we just went, we saw it on the menu, we ordered it, and it was amazing. It's like this very silky, creamy chocolate drink. It wasn't actually hot when we had it. It was just like warm, and it was just divine. Crepes I also recommend. I had crepes there, and that was really yummy and really nice. So check out the blog for recommendations of where I dined and where you can have these great experiences as well. So overall, my review of Geneva. Okay, so I thought it was okay, right? But I wasn't like blown away. I've been to other cities and I've been blown away. It was okay. I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a bit too calming for me. I didn't really feel like it was a very vibrant, exciting city. It was very calm and not dull. It was elegant, it was sophisticated, it was beautiful, it was clean. The people there seemed very polite, reserved but polite. Like, they seemed to be very, well-mannered, but to themselves. It was fine. So I'd give it a 6 out of 5. I'm sorry, like, a friend of mine went and he loved it. He says he wants to live there, but for me, I wasn't blown away. I think my favorite feature was Lake Geneva, the view of the Alps and the Jet d'eau, but it was okay. So I don't know, that's just my view. I mean, to share one story, I don't know if this impacts how I felt about Geneva, but I had an uncomfortable situation. So as I said, I went with my friend, and we're both black. We're both not the brand name type of people. Like, we try to keep things simple. She said to me, we saw a very prominent high-end store. I don't want to call any names because I don't like to bash anybody's products or service or anything. I only like to mention people who give me good service. So, but this is a very high-end brand. And she said, hey, I've never gone into a store like that. Why don't we go? And so I was like, all right, sure, let's do it. So we went in, and, we were talking, and we're, acting all elegant. Ooh, I think I like this fragrance. So we noticed that while we were doing that and trying to, live the high life, one of the employees came over and she was looking at us. So I was like, okay, this is a little strange. So we moved, and we noticed she moved with us. So we continued walking, and she followed us. And I was like, okay, let's go upstairs because this is strange. When I went upstairs, this lady was still right behind me. Like, there was barely any air between us. And it was interesting because this was like at the beginning of Corona, like, happening in Europe. So this was actually my last trip before Corona, and I was even concerned about going, but I decided to go. And I was like, this lady's not even practicing social distancing. So I turned around to her and I said, excuse me, is there a reason you're following us? And she's like, oh, you have a problem with me following you? It's just my job, I have to follow you. And it was interesting because nobody else was being followed. Nobody else was being followed. And we were the only black people in the store. Now, I'm not the type of person who readily talks about race and blackness, but this was just too overt and it was really uncomfortable. So they were actually giving out like hors d'oeuvres in the store. And my friend was like, taking some. I was like, I don't want any. This lady is looking at me, feels really awkward. So we left, and it was just really so uncomfortable. I feel like it's really sad when people profile others, or when we just assume we know something about somebody because of how they appear, whether it is like, how they speak or the color of their skin or how they dress. Like, it's really unfortunate. So I don't know if that tainted a bit of my experience of Geneva. Maybe it did, and I'm sure Many other people have gone and did not have anything like this happen. But overall, my ranking for Geneva is about a 6.5. Would I go back? Perhaps, but I think I'd rather go to Zurich or some other parts of Switzerland just to like learn more about the country. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on Geneva. Feel free to read the blog to hear more about my experience and my recommendations. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. See you next time on See Go. Bye.